Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Smritya
Narayana
Narayanam
Namaskritya
Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram
Naram
Chaiva
Chaiva
Narottamam
Narottamam.
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudirayet
Tato
Tato
Jayamati
Jayamudiraye.
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu
Ashtapraye Subhadreshu
Bhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam
Nityam
Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavate Uttama Sloki
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki
Bhaktir Nishti.
Naisti
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya
Krishna
Vasudevaya
Vasudevaya.
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Nanda Gopakumaraya
Nanda
Dagopa
Gopakumaraya
Kumaraya.
Govindaya Namo Namaha
Govindaya Namo
Namo
Namaha.
Namaha.
Hare Krishna. So we are discussing the pastimes of the Lord in Vrindavan and later other places as discussed by Uddhava. We continue here. 15th is covered. So this is how, yeah. Evam Sanchitya Bhagavan
Evam
Nitya
Sanchintya
Sanchitya
Bhagavan
Bhagavan.
Bhagavan
Swarajye Stapya Dharmajam
Swarajye
Swarajya
Stapya
Satyaya
Dharmajam
Swarajyam
Dharmajam
Nandayam Asa Sahridha
Nandayam
Nandayama
Asa
Suhrita
Sukrita
Sukrita.
Sadhunam Vartma Darshayan.
Sadhunam
Sadhunam
Sadhunam Vartama
Vartmadarshayam.
Vartmadarshayam.
Darsayan.
Yeah, please read.
Lord Sri Krishna, thus thinking to himself, established Maharaja Yudhishthira in the position of supreme control of the world in order to show the ideal of administration on the path of piety.
So Lord Krishna, after the Kurukshetra war, Lord Krishna established Maharaj Yudhishthir as the king of the entire world, not just Bharat, land of Bharat, but also the entire world. And Lord Krishna himself was like a king of, not directly, but he was the king of Dwarka, right? He was living at Dwarka and he was the king. Of course, he had his, um, father Ugrasena, grandfather Ugrasena, who was ruling the Dwarka. So he was a subordinate king in a way to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Though he was the supreme lord, he acted as a subordinate king and accordingly performing his duties, meaning like paying taxes to the Maharaj Yudhishthira, like that. So Lord did not mind what is higher, what is lower. Uttarayam Dritah Puror
Uttarayam
Uttarayam
Drita
Dritapuro
Puro
Vamsha Sadva Abhimanyuna
Vamsya
Vamsasadva
Vamsasadva
Abhimanyuna
Abhimanyu.
Abhimanyu
Savai Drauni Astra Samplushta
Savai
Savai
Drauni
Saidrone
Drauni
Astra
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 Samprishta
Samprishta.
Samprastha
Punar Bhagavata Drita
Punha
Punarbhagavata
Bhagavata
Bhagavata
Drita.
Drita. The embryo of Puru's descendant, begotten by the great hero Abhimanyu in the womb of Uttara, his wife was burnt by the weapon of the son of Drona, but later he was again protected by the Lord.
Yeah, this is the beginning of Parikshit Maharaj, when he was in the womb of Abhimanyu, who is the son of Arjuna, Abhimanyu's wife is Uttara. When she was a pregnant woman, at the time, there was Brahmastra thrown at the baby in the womb of Uttara. So that is Parikshit Maharaj, who was in the womb at the time. And Uttara observed this and immediately took shelter of Lord Krishna. And Lord entered her womb and protected the baby from being burnt by the Brahmastra. So that is this. So Lord himself took the charge of protecting Parikshit Maharaj in the womb of his mother Uttara. At that time, Maharaj Parikshit looks at the Lord, and he was just baby, just new baby, and he was mesmerized to see the form of the Lord with mukut and all, very small form of the Lord. So he was always curious to see that form again and again. That's why he's named Parikshit, one who is very curious to see the form of the Lord. He was looking around everywhere to look at that form of the Lord. And that's why he's also known by the name Vishnu Rata. Vishnu Rata means one who is protected by the protected personally by the Lord. Vishnu Rata, one who is protected by the Lord himself directly. So this is a boy who was protected by the Lord himself. Yeah, but the same devotee, he was cursed by a simple Brahmana, a young boy, and both are done by the will of the Lord. Okay, that is the main point to understand. So this is how we should understand. Generally, in this world, a person prays to God as a partner who will support him, a partner who will, give him wealth. People think that piety brings wealth. If I am pious, I am, nice to others, and I'm doing my dharmic duties, I will get wealth. But you can see here, Parikshit Maharaj, by the will of the Lord, he was cursed by a Brahmana, and that was the birth of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Lord has used his devotee. Sometimes Lord protects, sometimes Lord, takes the life with a higher purpose, right? So Lord uses his devotees to the way he wanted, according to his will, for the good of the world, right? It's not necessarily that one is always, protected in the sense of, the piety that people many consider about God, right? So yeah, so Lord goes according to his will, and he was protected by Lord at the time of birth, and he was cursed by a Brahmana, uh, who is, not even big in stature. He was protected from the greatest fighter, Ashwadhama's Brahmastra. At one point, the same person was cursed by a small boy, um, to bring about Bhagavatam, right? So everything happens according to the Lord's will. We cannot choose what is best for us. Sometimes Lord gives, sometimes Lord takes. A devotee is only attached to Krishna at all times. He is not attached to what he wants. Okay? So if you Krishna always tests us, always tests. So in various ups and downs, right? When Krishna gives wealth, if you get attached to wealth, then so be it. Krishna just tests you, and if you are attached to it, then you're gone, right? Sometimes he takes your wealth For example, Pandavas. For Pandavas, Lord has given, Indraprastha. They were not attached to that. They were always attached to the Lord. And at one point, after Rajasuya Yajna, after that, he lost everything again. They were sent to they were sent to forest. So in either case, they did not lose their attachment to Krishna. So they were not disturbed by change of material circumstances. So Lord may sometimes give materially well, sometimes take away material wealth, but at all times a devotee is always attached to Lord only and nothing else. For example, Duryodhana, he had chosen the soldiers of Krishna, while Arjuna chose Krishna, right? Krishna said, I won't join in the fight. It's up to you to choose me or my Sena. Arjuna choose Krishna only, right? So that's how a devotee is. He always chooses Lord, not his wealth. Yeah, continue.
The embryonic body of Parikshit, which was in formation after Uttara's pregnancy by Abhimanyu, the great hero, was born by the Brahmastra of Aswadhama, but a second body was given by the Lord within the womb, and thus the descendant of Puru was saved. This incident is the direct proof that the body and the living entity, the spiritual spark, are different.
Yeah, so you can see here. So his body was already burnt, it seems, and then Lord gave another body.
But if the developing embryo is destroyed in some way or other, the living entity has to take shelter in another body or in the womb of another woman. The particular living entity who was selected to be descendant of Maharaj Puru or the Pandavas was not an ordinary living entity, and by the superior will of the Lord, he was destined to be the successor of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Therefore, when Aswadhama destroyed the embryo of Maharaja Parikshit, the Lord, by his own internal potency, entered into the womb of Uttara by his plenary portion, just to give audience to the would-be Maharaja Parikshit, who was in great danger. By his appearance within the womb, the Lord encouraged the child and gave him complete protection in a new body by his omnipotency. By his power of omnipresence, he was present both inside and outside of Uttara and other members of Pandava's family.
Yeah. So in this way, Lord protected Parikshit Maharaj. Ayajayat dharma sutam
Jayat Dharma
Sutam
Ashwamedha Stribhir Vibhu
Ashwamedhaistrivirbhu
Vipuh.
Gopi Kshamam Anujai Rakshan
Anujai
Anujai
Rakshan
Rakshan
Reme Krishnam Anuvrata.
Vime
Reme
Krishnam
Krishnam
Anuvrata.
Anuvrata.
Please read.
The Supreme Lord induced the son of Dharma to perform 3 horse sacrifices, and Maharaj Yudhishthira, constantly following Krishna, the personality of Godhead, protected and enjoyed the act, assisted by his younger brothers.
Yeah. So Yudhishthira Maharaj performed 3 horse sacrifices. And in fact, it is mentioned that after performing 3 sacrifices of Ashwamedha, the abode of Yudhishthira Maharaj was more opulent than that of Indra. Generally, it takes about 100 Ashwamedha yajnas to get the kind of wealth of Indra. But because Lord was there personally overseeing Arjuna or the Pandavas, they got the same wealth just by following Lord's instructions to perform 3 horse sacrifices. Right? So Lord, according to his devotees, Lord takes over their control of everything completely. Here you can see how Lord awarded the same wealth as Indra just by the performance of 3 horse sacrifices. Right? So in this way, that's why karma is not considered directly, in the life of a devotee, it's not directly proportional or inversely proportional according to negative karma, right? So Lord acts in ways that are way different than other non-devotees. Yeah. So this is one example. Continue, Prabhu.
Perfect. As stated in the Vedas, Upanishad, the Lord is the proprietor of the entire manifested cosmic creation, which presents a chance for the conditioned souls to revive their eternal relationship with the Lord and thus go back to Godhead, back home. The whole system of the material world is arranged with that program and plan. Anyone who violates the plan is punished by the law of nature, which is acting by the direction of the Supreme Lord. Maharaja Yudhishthira was installed on the throne of the earth as a representative of the Lord. The king is always expected to be the representative of the Lord. Perfect monarchy necessitates representation of the supreme will of the Lord, and Maharaja Yudhishthira was the ideal monarch on this supreme principle.
Because he's a great devotee of the Supreme Lord, he's the ideal monarch. And during his rule, everything was abundant because he is a perfect devotee of the Lord. You see, that's mentioned here. Both the king and the subjects were happy in the distance of worldly duties. And the middle nature cooperates fully. Bhagavan api visvatma
Bhagavan api Visvatma
Veda pathanuga
Lokaveda Patanuga
Raman siseve dvarvatyam
Kamansi Seveda Dvatnyam
asakta sankhyamasthita.
Asakta
Asita.
Simultaneously, the personality of Godhead enjoyed life in the city of Dwarka strictly in conformity with the Vedic customs of society. He was situated in detachment and knowledge as enunciated by the Sankhya system of philosophy.
The Lord was at the same time in the city of Dwarka with his family of so many 16,100 wives. He was following all the Vedic customs. He would wake up in the morning, perform meditation on himself, uh, spend time with family, do whatever services he's supposed to do as the king of Dwarka. Go ahead.
While Maharaj Yudhishthira was the emperor of earth, Lord Sri Krishna was the king of Dwarka and was known as Dwarkadhish. Like other subordinate kings, he was under the regime of Maharaj Yudhishthira. Although Lord Sri Krishna is the supreme emperor of the entire creation, while he was on this earth, he never violated the principles of Vedic injunctions because they are the guide for human life. Regulated human life according to the Vedic principles which are based on the system of knowledge called Sankhya philosophy, is the real way of enjoyment of necessities of life.
Yeah. So he was a subordinate king to Maharaj Yudhishthira as being the ruler of Dwarka. Yeah.
The Lord was acting freely as he willed, yet by his practical example, he taught not to lead a life which goes against the principles of detachment and knowledge. Attainment of knowledge and detachment, as very elaborately discussed in Sankhya philosophy, is the real perfection of life. Knowledge means to know that the mission of the human form of life is to end all the mysteries of material existence, and that, in spite of having to fulfill the bodily necessities in a regulated way, one must be detached from such animal life. Fulfilling the demands of the body is animal life, and fulfilling the mission of the spirit soul is the human mission.
Yeah. So this is a very powerful statement here. Fulfilling the demands of body is animal life. So we should not just remain in fulfilling the demands of the body alone. Fulfilling the mission of the spirit soul is the human mission. So all of us, everybody has to endeavor to perform devotional service. Without that, the human life is waste. Is the most precious gift of God is wasted. And when Lord comes to this world, he sets a perfect example for everyone to follow. Right? He was leading as a grihastha, ideal life as a father, mother, husband. Snigdha smitavalokena
स्निग्धस्मितावलोकेन
chapi ayosha kalpaya charitrena navadhyena
चरित्रेणावधेन
Sriniketana chatmana.
श्रीनिकेतनाचात्मना
Is it-
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. He was there in his transcendental body, the residence of the goddess of fortune, with his usual gentle and sweetly smiling face, his nectarian words, and his flawless character.
Yeah, so this is the nature of the Lord, how he was living like a regular grihastha. Yeah, though he's never like any one of us, right? He's the Supreme Lord, but he just set a good example. Yeah, continue.
Lord Krishna is detached from the variegatedness of the inferior nature, but he is in eternal blissful enjoyment of the spiritual nature or his internal potency. One who has a poor fund of knowledge cannot understand this distinction between the external and internal potencies. In Bhagavad Gita, the internal potency is described as the para prakriti. In the Vishnu Purana also, the internal potency of Vishnu is described as Parashakti. The Lord is never detached from the association of Parashakti. This Parashakti and her manifestations are described in the Brahma Samhita 5.37 as Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabihi.
Yeah, so this is so Lord has both external and internal potencies. So when it is described about the enjoyment of the Lord, it is the internal potency of the Lord that Lord enjoys. It's not to be confused with external potency that we are, Maya Shakti, which we try to enjoy in this world, or those who are not spiritually realized. Imam lokam amum chaiva
इमां लोकम् अमुं चैव
sutaram yadun
रामायण सुतरां यदन्
chanda daya datta
Reme Kshanodaya Datta.
Kshana Kshana Sauhridaha.
Janasri Kshana Sauhridaha.
The Lord enjoyed his pastimes both in this world and in other worlds, higher planets, specifically in the association of the Yadu dynasty. At leisure hours offered by night, he enjoyed the friendship of conjugal love with women.
Yeah, so it is within his family only, the wives, specifically in the association. So he just led like life like, normal. Yeah, go ahead.
The Lord enjoyed in this world with his pure devotees. Although he is the personality of Godhead and is transcendental to all material attachment, he nevertheless exhibited much attachment for his pure devotees on the earth, as well as for the demigods who engage in his service in the heavenly planets as powerful delegated directors in the management of all material activities. He displayed special attachment for his family members, the Yadus, as well for his 16,000 wives who had the opportunity to meet him in the leisure hours of night. All these attachments of the Lord are manifestations of his internal potency, of which the external potency is only a shadow representation. In the Skanda Purana, Prabhasa Khanda, in the topics between the Lord Shiva and Gauri, the manifestation of his internal potencies is confirmed.
Yeah. So all the wives of Lord are manifestation of his internal potencies. And these are all either, great devotees or devotees, those who are either Nitya Siddhas, who are eternally liberated souls from the spiritual world, or great demigods from higher planets, who are, great devotees also. So these are all special souls. तस्यैवां रममानस्य
तस्यैवान्दममानस्य
Asya
वत्सरगणान् बहून्
Samvatsara
गणाः
गृहमेधेषु योगेषु
गृहमेधेषु योगेषु
विरागा समजायते.
Viraga Samajayat.
Yeah, please read.
The Lord was thus engaged in household life for many, many years, but at last his detachment from ephemeral sex life was fully manifested.
It's not like Lord is, it's not to be considered like uh, any of us. Lord is completely transcendental. His body is completely transcendental. All the wives of Lord, they're all internal potency. They're all spiritual. It is from the point of view of external eyes, he appears to be like one of, just like leading a grihastha life, regular life, but it is not to be, his pleasure of, ephemeral sex life, they're all transcendental. They're not mundane like what we experience in this world. Okay, not to be confused. Yeah, continue.
Even though the Lord is never attached to any kind of material sex life, as a universal teacher, he remained a householder for many, many years, just to teach others how one should live in householder life. Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakura explains that the word samjayata means fully exhibited. In all his activities, while present on the earth, the Lord exhibited detachment. This was fully displayed when he wanted to teach by example that one should not remain attached to household life for all days of one's life. One should naturally develop detachment as a matter of course.
Yeah. So this is primarily to teach all of us. When he was in this world, he was showing an example so that we can all see his example and follow how to take care of family. That's the thing. दैवाधीनेषु कामेषु
दैवाधीनेषु कामेषु
धीना स्वयं पुमान्
Devadina Swayam Puma
विस्रम्भेत योगेन
Vishrambreta Yogena
Yogeshwaram Anuvrata.
Yogeshwaram Anuvrata.
Every living entity is controlled by a supernatural force, and thus his sense enjoyment is also under the control of that supernatural force. No one, therefore, can put his faith in Lord Krishna's transcendental sense activities, but one who has become a devotee of the Lord by rendering devotion service.
Yeah, no one therefore can put his faith in Lord Krishna's transcendental sense activities, but one who has become a devotee of the Lord by rendering devotion service. Yeah, please read.
Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, no one can understand the transcendental birth and activities of the Lord. The same fact is herein corroborated. No one but one who is enlightened by the devotional service of the Lord can understand the difference between the Lord's activities and those of others who are controlled by the supernatural force. The sense enjoyment of all animals, men, and demigods within the purview of the material universe is controlled by the supernatural force called the Prakriti or Dhaivi Maya. No one is independent in obtaining sense enjoyment, and everyone in this material world is after sense enjoyment. Persons who are themselves under the control of supernatural power cannot believe that Lord Krishna is not under any control beyond himself in the matter of sense enjoyment. They cannot understand that his senses are transcendental. In the Brahma Samhita, the Lord's senses are described as omnipotent. That is, with any sense, he can perform activities of the other senses. One who has limited senses cannot believe that the Lord can eat by his transcendental power of hearing and can perform the act of sex life simply by seeing. The controlled living entity cannot even dream of such sense activities in his conditional life. But simply by the activities of Bhakti Yoga, he can understand that the Lord and his activities are always transcendental. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 18.55, Bhaktya mam abhijananti yavam yas asmi tatvatha. One cannot know even a fraction of the activities of the Lord if he is not a pure devotee of the Lord.
Yeah. So, other than devotees, nobody can understand Lord's activities. They are transcendental, and Lord can perform any activity with any sense. He is omnipotent, all powerful. Right? So only as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktyamam Abhijanati Yavan Yas Chasmi Tattvadaha. So just by reading Bhagavatam, without the right understanding, right, one may misunderstand Lord to be like one of us. These verses, especially. Oh, Lord spent time with his wives, just like any one of us. Like that, people may think. But it is not. Lord is transcendental. He is not mundane like us. We are controlled by Maya Shakti. Lord controls all the energies, and his activities are all directly with the internal potency, Daivi Shakti. Very different. Puryam kadachit kreedad bher
Puryan kadachit kridambir
Yadubhuja kumara kai
Yadu
Yatubhoja Kumarakai
Kumarakai.
pita munaya sepur
Gopita
Gopika
Munaya
Munai
Sepu
Sepur
Bhagavan matako vida.
Bhagavan
Bhagavan
Matako
Matakovida.
Vidya.
Hmm.
Once upon a time, the great sages were made angry by the sporting activities of the princely descendants of Yadu and Bhoja dynasties, and thus, as desired by the Lord, the sages cursed them.
This is the story of Yadu dynasty. But this all happened according to the will of the Lord. Continue.
The associates of the Lord who were playing the part of princely descendants of Yadu and Bhoja dynasties were not ordinary living entities. It is not possible that they could offend any saintly man or sage, nor could the sages who were all pure devotees of the Lord be influenced to anger by any of the sporting activities of the princes born in holy dynasties of Yadu or Bhoja, wherein the Lord himself appeared as a descendant. The cursing of the princess by the sage was another transcendental pastime of the Lord to make a show of anger. The princes were cursed in order that one may know that even the descendants of the Lord, who could never be vanquished by any act of material nature, were subjected to the reactions of anger by the great devotees of the Lord. One should therefore take great care and attention not to commit an offense at the feet of a devotee of the Lord.
This is the main lesson that one should be mindful. Even the descendants of the Lord can get cursed. So that is the lesson, and this whole thing was manifested just to teach the lesson. It's not that the children of Lord would be like this, they would act in ways to offend a Vaishnava. Lord has a desire to send them all back to wherever they came from. He wanted it, which included all the Yadus, including his mother, father, children, wives, 16,100. All the wives are also, as part of this, they were all sent back to Godhead. Right? Nobody was left out after this incident happened. His children, 16,108 children, multiplied by 10. So you can imagine, like, so many people. Everyone is vanquished. Because Lord desired, all the palaces were also destroyed after that. Everything was sent, everything was nullified. Tata kati payair
तथा
तथा कतिपयैर्मासैर्
Vishni Bhojandakadaya
वृष्णिभोजनादया
भोजनादया
Yayu Prabhasam Samhrishta
ययुप्रभासं
Samrishta
संहृष्टा
Rathair Deva Vimohita.
रथैर्देवा
Deva
विमोहिता
Vimohita.
Please read.
A few months passed, and then, bewildered by Krishna, all the descendants of Vrishni, Bhoja, and Andhaka, who were the incarnation of demigods, went to Prabhasa, while those who were eternal devotees of the Lord did not leave but remained in Dwarka.
Yeah, so all these descendants who are not eternal associate, it seems, they all went there to get destroyed. Tatra snatva pitrinde
Tatra snatva
Pitran
pitanteva
Deva.
Shmischaiva tadambhasa
duschaiva tadam
Tadambasa.
Yatvatha Viprebhyo
tatra
Tattayitayita
payitata
Viprebhyo
Gavo Bhanu Bahu Gunadadu.
gavo
Gavo Bahu
gunadadu.
Gunadadu.
Yeah, please read.
After arriving there, all of them took bath, and with the water of this place of pilgrimage, they offered their respects to the forefathers, demigods, and great sages, and thus satisfied them. They gave cows to the Brahmanas in royal charity.
Yeah. So they performed all the Brahmanical duties as Kshatriyas. Please read.
For pure devotees of the Lord who are completely satisfied with the transcendental loving service of the Lord, there is hardly any necessity to visit the various places of pilgrimage. But those who are not so advanced have the prescribed duties of visiting pilgrimage sites and regularly performing the rituals. The part of the princely order of the Yadu dynasty who went to Prabhasa performed all duties to be done in a place of pilgrimage and offered their pious actions to their forefathers and others. As a rule, every human being is indebted to God, the demigods, great sages, other living entities, people in general, forefathers, etc., for various contributions received from them. Thus, everyone is obliged to repay the debt of gratitude. The Yadus who went to the Prabhasa pilgrimage site performed their duties by distributing land, gold, and well nourished cows in royal charity, as described in the following verse.
Yeah. So the other dynasty, all of them who went to Prabhasa pilgrimage performed, charity by distributing gold, land, and the cows to the Brahmanas. Hiranyam rajatam sayam
Hiranyam rajatam sayam
vasamsi ajina kambalan
Vasamsyajina kambalam
yanam rathan ibhan kanya
Yanam Ratan Ibhan Kanya
dharam vritti karim api.
Dharam
Dharavriti karim
Karim
api.
Abhi.
The Brahmanas were not only given well-fed cows in charity, but also gold, gold coins, bedding, clothing, animal skin seeds, blankets, horses, elephants, girls, and sufficient land for maintenance.
Yeah, so they were all given this.
All these charities were meant for the Brahmanas, whose lives were devoted entirely to the welfare of society, both spiritually and materially. The Brahmanas were not given their services as paid servants, but the society provided them with all necessities. It was arranged for some of the Brahmanas who were in difficulty of marriage to be given girls. The Brahmanas, therefore, had no economic problems. The Kshatriya kings and rich mercantile men would provide them with all that they needed, and in exchange, the Brahmanas were completely devoted to the elevation of the society. There was the way of social cooperation between the different castes. When the Brahmana class or caste gradually became easygoing, being fed by the society, although they had no Brahmanical qualifications, they degraded themselves into Brahmana bandhus or disqualified Brahmanas. And thus, other members of society also gradually fell down from the social standard of progressive life.
So when Brahmanas were very strict and they were fixed in transcendental knowledge, they were like protecting the entire society, you know. And in return, they were taken care. Just like here in today's time, for comparison, if you the way we, in our community, we take care of brahmacharis, or sannyasis. That is protecting Brahmana culture. In turn, what they do, they provide us knowledge. Uh, they make sure we are all spiritually enlivened. Correct. So that exchange, grihasthas protect Brahmana, serve the Brahmanas, and Brahmanas are taken care. Their necessities are met, and so they take care of our spiritual welfare. But what this is available in a society like ISKCON right now, but entire world was like this at one point, where Brahmanas as a class were spiritually enlightened and they're protecting the society, their village, their town, their city, whatever. And in return, their necessities are taken care. But when those Brahmana classes of devotees, when they were not taken care and they have become loose in terms of their standards of spiritual life, correct? So when they have reduced their standards, and they became easygoing, then the Brahmana class degraded. You know what happened? The effect is when Brahminical class degraded, the entire society degraded. This is how everybody went away from the path of spiritual life in India, especially. When Brahminical culture was not protected and the Brahmanas were not keeping the standards, the entire society degrades. Just like that's why Brahmanas are called the head. If the head is not working, you know, you use your body in all wrong ways. Correct? So same thing happened. The fall down of the Brahmanas is the beginning of Kali Yuga. Just for the understanding, right? So that's why when Brahmanas fell down very badly in the times of um, incarnation of Buddha, he he rejected Vedas because in the name of Vedas, the Brahmanas were misutilizing Vedic wisdom and encouraging animal sacrifice, and they were also taking part in sacrifice eating, animal eating. So he first rejected Vedas so that at least normal life can be resumed. Vedas were rejected, Brahmanas were rejected, everything was rejected. And then again, Adi Shankara revived uh, Vedic wisdom. And after that, Ramanujacharya revived Vaishnava worship and personal worship of Supreme Lord. Accepting the personal form of the Lord. That was the Vaishnava culture, starting with Ramanujacharya, then Madhvacharya, then Lord Chaitanya. It was revived. So slowly the Brahmanical degradation was counteracted. At least in societies like ISKCON and all, there is still this culture of Brahmanas and is protected. Thereby we have spiritual growth possible. Otherwise, if you are living regular life outside, not connected to a spiritual society like ISKCON, there is no way to keep up your spiritual life because there is no Brahmanical culture outside, right? So in a way, we are all sheltered in a society where there is Vedic culture. Annam choru rasam tebhyo
Anam choru
Annam
rasam
choru rasam tebhyo
tatva bhagavad arpanam
dattva
tva bhagavat arpanam
go viprardha savasura
goviprata
Goviprata
vasura
Savasura
pranimur bhuvi murdhabhi murdhabhi.
Nimurti
Pranimurdabhi
Murdhabi.
Murdabhi.
Thereafter, they offered the Brahmanas highly delicious foodstuffs, first offered to the personality of Godhead, and offered their respectful obeisances by touching their heads to the ground. They lived perfectly by protecting the cows and the Brahmanas.
Yeah. So the Brahmanas were offered nice, prasadam offered to the Lord, and then yeah. So they were also protecting cows was part of the society, and protecting cows and Brahmanas. Go Brahmana Hitaya. So this is the Vedic way of life. One should protect cows, one should protect Brahmanas. Because in turn, Brahmanas will protect our spiritual life, societies.
The behavior exhibited by the descendants of Yadu in the pilgrimage site of Prabhasa was highly cultured and exactly to the point of human perfection. The perfection of human life is attained by following three principles of civilization: protecting the cows, maintaining the Brahminical culture, and above all, becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. Without becoming a devotee of the Lord, one cannot perfect one's human life. The perfection of human life is to be elevated to the spiritual world where there is no birth, no death, no disease, and no old age. That is the highest perfectional aim of human life. Without this aim, any amount of material advancement in so-called comforts can only bring the defeat of the human form of life.
So the main purpose of life is to become a pure devotee of the Lord, and that is possible only when Brahmanical culture is there in the community or society, right? So in a way, we are all protected by that. Even though you are living in a place like America, where there is, there is no Vedic culture, still because of the, protection offered by a society, ISKCON society, we are able to maintain that. And we also should, support protection of cows. Okay? That's why, many temples in our society, they protect cows, so that Lord can be given ahimsa milk. Right? Lord can be served. Yeah, that is the end of the chapter. So we have discussed many sweet pastimes of the Lord. Right? It was very enchanting to read these pastimes. Any discussions, realizations, questions? I hope you all relish this chapter.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Chapter, huh?
Yes.
Okay, so we're at time. If you have any questions, we can discuss. Otherwise, we can end. So we'll resume next week. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. My friend.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Mhm.